everyone, I'm Rossella and welcome back to my show. Today I'm going to be preparing a special dessert from Puglia, and I have never seen these on any episode of anything ever. It's really a very unique dessert. These are called Bocche di Dama, and these are a Pugliese almond cookie filled with wild cherries. And they can make them in a lot of different ways. Usually they're cream filled in a lot of parts of Puglia, but in my village of Mola di Bari, they make them like this. And I'm just going to go over the ingredients. Super simple cookie. It's almonds. These are boiled blanched almonds, peeled. Now, very important, you want to use the peeled almonds because they're going to give you the nice white color. If you use the colored almonds, it's okay. You can use them if you're really desperate, but I recommend doing the boiled blanched almonds. You can buy them right like this. We're going to use some egg whites, some granulated sugar. We're going to use some lemon zest, and then I'm going to show you how to decorate them in a few ways. Oh, and we got these awesome cherries. Now, these cherries, these are called sour cherries in syrup, and they can be a little bit tricky to find. If you can't find these and you can only find amarena cherries, then I would suggest using those. I personally don't love using amarena cherries just because they have too much of a strong flavor. Sometimes they have a liquor in them, added to them, and there is a bakery in my village of Mola di Bari that makes these cookies and makes them with a cherry that's more like this. So I do like to use this because I feel like it's a little bit more authentic. But if you can't find either of those things, then just use some cherry preserves, like a little tiny spoonful, and that'll be enough. So I'm going to add the almonds to the food processor. And we're going to let this go for about 2 minutes. And I'm going to show you when they come out because the grind is very specific and very important. After we process them, they're kind of going to become pasty. They're going to release some of the oils, and they're going to have a nice humidity to them. So when you ball it together, they're going to kind of hold their shape. So I'm going to turn this on and set a timer for 2 minutes. Okay. Perfect. Now, I learned this trick from a famous baker from Mola di Bari, and she owns the bakery Cecchina and Figlio in Mola, and she taught me when I visited her that the almonds have to be ground just a certain way. They can't be too fine like flour, and they can't be too coarse. And she actually doesn't use a processor or anything to grind her almonds. She uses a cheese grinder. I thought that was really cool. But she makes amazing cookies, especially her Bocche di Dama. They're my favorite. Few bakeries in the town, but I love hers the best. And Bocche di Dama translates to a lady's mouth, a dame's mouth. So they're very popular for weddings. So you would see when a bride is getting married in southern Italy, it's very typical to do like a photo shoot at your house, and you got to clean the house nice, and then you got to like have a big table full of sweets, and there's always Bocche di Dama. In fact, these bakeries go nuts during wedding season in the summer times because every table has a big tray of these almond cookies. So this is what I was talking about. So I'm going to ball it together and see how it's kind of already holding its shape. That is exactly what we want. Really nice. So now I'm going to add our egg whites, our sugar, and I'm going to get my microplane and grate some fresh lemon zest. And these almond cookies are a really important part of Pugliese and Molese culture just because you can't have a party without these kind of cookies there. And every time we do have like a big family party or a wedding or a christening, communion, anything, my aunt and my grandma get together in her basement and open a little cookie factory. and bake for days and days and days because every single table has to have a tray of these cookies. And when I'm done, you're going to see why, because they're so gorgeous. Get that lemon zest. My grandma was here. She would have her round, she calls it a grattacasa. It's like 100 years old. I got her a microplane, and she's like not a fan. She's like, why? But I love this thing. Okay, and be careful to only grate the zest and not the white of it, because the white is bitter. All right. Put this to the side. And I am going to bring my baking sheet closer just because I want it to be close. And I'm going to mix this with my hands because honestly, you can use a spoon, but I just feel like you got to get in there. You got to work with your hands a little bit. So I'm going to take my ring off. Put it in here. Excuse me. And I've prepared this with some aluminum foil, and I sprayed it with a little bit of cooking spray, just because they can stick sometimes. And if you notice, this is one of those like disposable aluminum pans. My grandmother swears by these. She says that especially when you bake almond cookies, they come out the best on these pans, and it's the only thing that she is willing to use to make almond cookies. So I'm going by, listen, the show's Cooking with Nonna, and she's not here right now, but I got to do things her way sometime. Okay, so we have a beautiful, beautiful almond paste. Now, I know if you're from Sicily and you're watching, you're thinking, we do almond paste too, we do it better, whatever. And I'm like, yes, Sicily, you do some good almond paste. I will give it to you. But Puglia has more almond trees than you do. Puglia actually has the most almond trees in all of Italy. And the differences between Pugliese almond paste and a Sicilian almond paste is probably just sugar content. In my experience in the almond paste that I've tasted, the Sicilian one is excellent, but the grinds on the almonds is a little bit finer and it's more sugary. It's still good, but they're just two different things. Now this right here, this is your good basic almond paste. Now you can make cookies right out of this. You don't have to add another thing if you don't want to, and just ball them up, bake them up like that. You don't have to fill them with anything, or you can add some food coloring. You can add some coffee, but that's a whole other show. And this is your basic pasta reale, which we call a royal almond paste. Reale means royal, so we call it basic almond paste pasta reale. So I'm going to take a nice ball of my pasta reale. And I'm going to take my finger. And if it's a little sticky for you, you can also dip your finger in water and make the holes like that. It tends to stick less. And I'm going to take 2 of these cherries. You don't want to be cheap with the cherries. And now you can kind of start to close it up. Like rotate it and pinch it together. Now you might not be able to close it all the way like this. So if that happens, you just take a little piece of paste and just patch that up. Just like that. So now I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to roll all of them out and fill them. And these are all ready for the oven. These are going to bake for 15 minutes at 350 degrees. And when they come out of the oven, if you touch them, they're going to feel soft. You might actually even think that they're not cooked. But don't worry, don't touch them. Don't try and move them off the foil until they have totally cooled. And as they cool, they're going to firm up a lot. So don't be worried if they come out of the oven that they're a little soft. If your oven runs a little cooler, then I would bake them for maybe 1 minute more, 2 minutes more maximum, but 15 minutes is really the ideal time. So we're going to bake these, and when we come back, I'm going to show you the different ways that you could decorate them. These are my baked Bocche di Dama, fully cooled and ready to decorate. And when they are perfectly cooked, they do turn like a little bit brown at the bottom, but that's totally fine. That just means that they're done. And I'm ready to decorate them. And the way I'm going to decorate them is going to be very simple, but really elegant. And they've always been two ways from when I was a little girl. They've either been just lightly dusted with powdered sugar and then drizzled with a tiny, tiny like drizzle of chocolate. Or my favorite way is to make a glace to cover them. So a glace is just a milk icing with milk and powdered sugar. And it's always been really pure white and then had a pretty chocolate drizzle on top. And I always thought that that was so gorgeous. So I'm just going to take my confectioner sugar and my milk. Take about a spoonful. Now again, for the exact measurements and full recipe, please head to cookingwithnonna.com. We'll have a link below. And you're just going to stir this together. Now the icing is really up to you. You can make it as thin or as thick as you want. My Nonna loves a nice thin icing because she says it's less sugary and whatever, but I love a beautiful white thick icing. I just think something about that just makes me smile. And you don't need too much because we don't have that many. So you want to stir your icing until it reaches a 10-second consistency. Now, a 10-second icing does not mean that it takes 10 seconds to make. It means that if you drizzle some, it will take exactly 10 seconds for the line to disappear, like this. Now, this might look a little bit thick to you guys, but from my point of view, I want the icing to stay really white when it dries on the almond cookie. So now I'm going to take my cookies and I'm going to dip them. Make sure you get to the bottom. Alrighty. And just let any excess run off. Look at how beautiful and white that is. And I'm just going to place them on the wire rack, and any excess is just going to drip onto there. So I'm going to do half of these with the glace, and the other half I'm just going to do with some very simple powdered sugar. In my family, we have to have them both ways because my grandmother's obsessed that the ones with the glace are way too sweet. I like the ones with the glace. My mother only likes the ones with just powdered sugar. Everybody has an opinion, but you want to make everybody happy, and they're cookies that symbolize a happy event usually. You make them for births and weddings and really fun parties. Christmas time, I made a bunch of these at Christmas time, and everybody loved them. And I think these are such an easy cookie to make. People think, oh my God, almond paste, that's so hard, it's hard to work with. It's really not. It's super easy. How pretty do these look already? I love them. And these last 6, I'm just going to do a little simpler with some powdered sugar. So I'm just going to take a little powdered sugar and dust them. Perfect. So now the finishing touch on these is to do a little chocolate drizzle or swirl. And I have some chocolate that I melted before right here. Just some semi-sweet chocolate that I melted in a double boiler. And I'm going to put it in a plastic bag When I'm gonna make a really fine little line like this, I just think plastic bags like this are easier to use. You don't have to have a pastry bag or disposable pastry bag or anything like that. Just gonna spoon some chocolate inside it. And you don't need very much at all to do the drizzle. My Nonna says if you don't want to do the drizzle, she always puts like a little sprinkle on top, these little silver balls. They're very popular in Italy. We can get them at an Italian market. And she says that that's classy looking. And it is, but I love the chocolate drizzle because that's how they do them in Italy. And I'm trying to be as authentic as possible over here. Okay. So now I'm just going to snip the corner of the bag. And I'm just going to snip at the tiniest, tiniest little opening possible. I'm going to take that. And since the chocolate's warm, it's going to come out a lot. Okay. And whenever you're piping anything, you just want to test it on a piece of foil. Perfect. That's good. So I'm going to start on this one, and I'm going to swirl. So just don't worry if it's not super perfect. Ah, how pretty is that? I'm obsessed with these. Okay, these are all done. And how gorgeous do these look already? Now, I'm just going to show you how you can present these. I think they look beautiful all by themselves. I'm just going to put them on my little stand. So, so pretty. And there you go. All done. I love these. I'm obsessed with these. I am going to taste one just because I did all this work. I'm just going to try one, little one. So good. Almonds, cherries, lemon zest, a little bit of sugar and chocolate. What else you want? So I'm so glad you guys watched the show and now know how to make your very own Bocche di Dama, and I will see you guys next time. Ciao.